So you want to own a house. It's the oldest dream in America. A yard, a front door that's actually yours, a mortgage payment instead of rent, because at least this way you're building something, right? Not just throwing money into some landlord's pocket every month. Homeownership gets sold to us as the safest, smartest move a regular person can make. Buy a house, sit back, watch it make you rich. Here's the part nobody tells you at the closing table. The thing that's supposed to make you money is actually costing you money almost the entire time you own it. And it's not because you're bad with numbers. It's because the whole idea of homeownership as an investment was basically built to hide its own price tag. Most people never even find out how much they really paid until decades later, when they finally sell. So stick with me. We're going to crack open the paperwork nobody reads. Level 1. The starter home. Somewhere between $150,000 and $350,000 gets you a small house, usually a few decades old, in a smaller town or a starter neighborhood. This is where most first-time buyers jump in, usually putting down as little as 3% and financing the rest. It's also the riskiest level, because there's almost no cushion. One bad roof, one busted furnace, one cracked foundation, and boom, years of equity you thought you were building just got wiped out in a single repair bill. Level 2. The move-up home. Now we're talking $400,000 to $900,000, usually a bigger house in a better school district, bought by someone who already has equity from selling their first place. This is where the real trade-off shows up. Your monthly payment eats a bigger chunk of your paycheck, sure, but you're also borrowing at a locked-in rate against something that, historically, tends to grow in value faster than everyday inflation. That's the trade you're making. Level 3. The premium tier. $1.5 million and up, for a luxury home or something bought purely as an investment. At this level, the house stops being where I live and starts being a financial chess piece. People here care less about the kitchen and more about tax write-offs, rental income, depreciation, all of it. This isn't a couple picturing where the couch goes. This is spreadsheets and accountants. Here's what stays the same no matter which level you're on. A house is weird, because it's two completely different things pretending to be one thing. It's a place you live, where you want stability and boring, predictable bills. And it's supposed to be an investment, where you want the freedom to cash out whenever the timing's good. A house gives you neither. It's about the least flexible big purchase you'll ever make, and getting in or out of it agent fees, closing costs, moving trucks can eat up 6 to 10% of the home's value each time. Coming and going. There's also a money trap most first-timers don't see coming. Put down less than 20%, and the bank makes you pay something called private mortgage insurance, which protects the bank, not you, and quietly tax on a few $100 a month until you've built up enough equity to drop it. And interest rates matter way more than people think. Buy the exact same house a year apart at a different rate, and your monthly payment could swing by hundreds, sometimes over $1,000. Same house, same price tag, totally different life, just because of when you signed the papers. Here's the simple version of how the money actually works. Think of your mortgage like a subscription you can never fully cancel, that also acts like a savings account you can't touch. Every payment you make is really 4 different bills stacked into one number: your loan, your interest, your property taxes, your insurance. And here's the kicker: in the early years, almost all of that payment goes toward interest, not toward actually owning more of the house. Your equity, the part that's really yours, grows painfully slow at first. It only picks up speed way later in the loan. 2 things actually decide whether buying beats renting. First is what economists call opportunity cost. Basically, what else that money could have earned you if you'd invested it somewhere else instead of locking it into a down payment. If your house grows in value slower than the stock market would have, you can technically win at owning a home. The price went up, you built equity and still end up financially worse off than if you just rented and invested the difference. The second thing is called imputed rent. It's the rent you'd be paying if you didn't own the place, and it's the real payoff of living in a home you own. Unlike a rental property you'd lease out to someone else, your own house doesn't pay you cash. It pays you in not having to write a rent check, which is exactly why homeownership wealth feels invisible. It's paper wealth. You don't actually feel it until you sell, downsize, or borrow against it. And here's the part that breaks normal investing logic completely. A house might be the only major asset where you're legally required to keep dumping money into it just to keep it from losing value. Forget growing it. Your stocks don't need a new roof. Your savings account doesn't need a new furnace every 15 years. The industry rule of thumb is simple. Set aside 1 to 4% of your home's value every single year for repairs and replacements. Nobody mentions that number at the open house, ever. There's another wrinkle almost nobody talks about: how mortgages are structured to favor the bank first. On a normal 30-year loan, it can take over a decade before most of your payment finally starts chipping away at the actual loan instead of just paying interest. So if you sell or refinance in the first several years, you basically just rented the bank's money at a premium the whole time. You made every payment on time. You still barely own anything. Walk into an open house and it's designed to make you feel something. Warm lighting, fresh paint smell, a bowl of lemons sitting on the counter for no reason, soft music playing from a speaker somewhere. It feels like a lifestyle. It's actually a sales environment, built on purpose, down to the smallest detail. Real estate agents call it staging the dream, and it works because buying a house is one of the biggest financial decisions most people ever make with their emotions turned all the way up. Homes get staged to look bigger, brighter, and more finished than they'll actually look once your furniture and your real life move in. The smell of cookies baking. The mirror placed just right to make a small room feel huge. The boring neutral paint colors, chosen specifically so you can picture your own stuff in there. None of it is an accident. Every open house is engineered to shut down the rational part of your brain just long enough to get you to offer more than the spreadsheet says you should. But here's a cost baked right into the deed that almost nobody plans for. Rising property taxes and insurance. Your local government reassesses your home's value every so often, sometimes every year, and if home prices in your area shoot up, your tax bill can climb by thousands of dollars without you lifting a finger. No renovation, no upgrade. The county just decided your house is worth more on paper, so now you owe more. Insurance does the same thing, especially in places dealing with more wildfires, floods, or hurricanes, where premiums have doubled in just a few years in some markets a euro. Sometimes insurance companies just stop selling policies in that area entirely. You can budget carefully on day one and still get priced out of your own house years later, not because you missed a payment, but because everything around your mortgage quietly got twice as expensive. And then there's the hidden cost that never gets talked about honestly, putting off repairs. Every year you delay fixing something small to save cash, it doesn't just sit there waiting. It grows. A tiny roof leak becomes a mold problem. A little foundation crack becomes a structural nightmare. Houses aren't sleepy assets quietly getting more valuable in the background. They're constantly falling apart, just slowly enough that you don't notice until it's expensive. The people who actually build wealth from owning a home are the ones who figure this out early, not the ones who keep kicking the can down the road. The charts you see online look great. Home prices climbing steadily for decades, a line that mostly goes up when you zoom out far enough. But what you actually pocket, after everything, is a lot thinner than that chart makes it look. After mortgage interest, taxes, insurance, repairs, and the cost of eventually selling, the real return on owning a home, once you count everything, usually lands somewhere around 2 to 4% above inflation over the long haul. Not the double-digit gains you see in some viral headline during a hot market. Way less exciting. Still real, but way less exciting. That gap between what the chart shows and what you actually keep comes down to leverage, and the cost of that leverage. Most buyers only put down a small fraction of the home's price and borrow the rest, which means a small move in home prices turns into a much bigger move in your actual equity. That works incredibly well for you when prices are rising. It works brutally against you when they're not. The whole system assumes home prices will keep climbing faster than interest, taxes, insurance, and repairs combined. Break that assumption for long enough, and what looked like a guaranteed way to build wealth turns into a monthly bill sitting on top of an asset that's now worth less than what you owe. Zillow found this out the hard way. They built an algorithm to predict home prices, figured it was smart enough to buy houses directly from sellers, fix them up a little, and flip them fast for a profit. They scaled it up hard through 2021, buying thousands of homes, financed heavily. Then the market shifted, and their pricing algorithm turned out to be a lot less reliable than they'd bet the company on. Suddenly they were sitting on a huge pile of homes they'd overpaid for, losing value by the day. They shut the whole thing down by the end of 2021 and wrote off hundreds of millions of dollars. A real, profitable, well-funded company taken down not because nobody wanted houses, but because they bet everything on their own math never being wrong. Katerra is a different kind of failure story. This company wanted to build houses like factories build cars standardize everything, mass-produce it, make home building fast and cheap. Great idea on paper. Except every building site has different soil, different codes, different weather, different clients. You can't run home construction like an assembly line. Project after project ran into delays, blown budgets, and problems their factory-style system was never built to handle. Katerra went bankrupt in 2021 after burning through billions of dollars. This wasn't a company crushed by too much debt on a solid business. It was a company crushed by trying to force an industry that refuses to be standardized into acting like one. Two totally different collapses. One from betting everything on an algorithm that turned out to be wrong. One from betting an entire business model against an industry that just doesn't work that way. The houses themselves, fine. They always are. Homes don't go bankrupt. The businesses built around flipping or mass building them sometimes do. Strip away the staged lemons, the fresh paint smell, and the granite countertops. What's actually left is one simple equation: how much the home's value went up, minus the interest you paid the bank, minus taxes and insurance, minus every repair, minus what it costs you to sell it someday. Once you're honest about every one of those numbers, the real return on owning a home isn't the wild wealth building story it gets sold as. It's a modest, steady gain €1, genuinely better than renting and doing nothing with the extra cash, but nowhere near as dramatic as the price charts make it look on their own. Warren Buffett figured out a version of this a long time ago. Instead of betting on where home prices would go next, Berkshire Hathaway built a real estate brokerage business €1, collecting a fee on every single home sale, no matter which direction prices moved. The house doesn't have to go up in value for that business to make money. It just has to change hands. The system rewards whoever can hold on the longest, through enough ups and downs, letting slow, boring compounding quietly outrun the interest, the taxes, the insurance, and the roof that eventually needs replacing. Everyone else is just borrowing money from a bank to live inside a slowly aging house, hoping the market moves their way before the next big repair bill shows up.